you for joining us for this workshop on using visuals. And we're going to be speaking today with Liza Donnelly and Jeremiah Dickey. And then it's going to be a different format from our usual workshops. It's going to be an interview kind of workshop led by Stephanie Lowe, who is our Director of Programs at TED Ed. And so what we're going to do today is basically a basic question-answer interview setup with the three of them first, and then we're going to set it up essentially for questions towards the end. So I am going to go through just a few housekeeping items first. As you guys have previously participated in TED Ed workshops, definitely feel free to mute yourself so there's no feedback throughout the workshop. And then when you guys do have a question, feel free to raise your hand and then unmute yourself using the microphone icon on the side. So we'll go ahead and approach it that way if that's okay. So just to give you guys a brief introduction, we're really excited to have Liza Donnelly here. She is a cartoonist from the Yorker magazine and has been working and writing with them for over 30 years. She's an author of over 15 books and has spoken at numerous events, including TED events and at the United Nations. And then we also have our in-house animator, Jeremiah Dickey, who's been with us for a while, and it has also taught at different animation schools. So, and we'll hand it off to Stephanie.
Hi guys, how's everyone doing? What's everyone eating for lunch is really the question, right?
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you, but it looks good.
It looks good, yes. So we're really excited to be chatting with you, and as you all know, we are recording this so that a lot of folks who can't make it during the live sessions are able to watch these sessions afterwards. So first of all, these two people may be two of my favorite people that I've had the opportunity to work with on lessons. So they've actually created an animated lesson themselves. And today, the reason why we are speaking to them is because we all know that you all are working on your presentations as well. And there is a section, I don't know if you guys have gotten to it yet, but there is a section on presenting with visuals. How many of you, and you can just raise your hand really fast, how many of you have gotten to the point where you are thinking about what visuals to use in your, whoa, there you go. All right, that's perfect. Well, these two people might be the masters of thinking about visuals and hopefully can kind of give you all some ideas of how to think about using visuals. So this is very much a conversation. So what I'll do is I'll just ask them some questions, but I'm really hoping that all of you are writing down or thinking of questions of your own because it's such a great opportunity that we get a chance to talk to both of them. So definitely be thinking of what questions you also have. But first off, I am just curious to hear from either of you how you first got into the role of being a cartoonist and then as an animator.
Well, I always was drawing when I was your age and drawing cartoons because I love cartoons and I like to make people happy. So I was doing it when I was a kid, and then I went to college and studied all kinds of things and ended up majoring in art, and then moved to New York City, got a job, but I was always drawing cartoons, and I submitted them to various magazines, among them the New Yorker magazine, and eventually the New Yorker, within a couple of years, bought a cartoon. So my dream came true, and I've just been working at it ever since. And it's like I draw a lot. It's not like you come up with one idea and draw it, and that's it. You have to draw like hundreds before you get the good idea. So it's a lesson in rejection all the
time. What about you, Jeremiah? How did you start your career as an animator?
Well, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew I liked to draw, and I thought about doing cartooning or more like comic book art at first. But I also really was into film and movies, and it seemed like animation was the logical kind of synthesis of those two things. And really got, it was a little intimidating at first because it's so much work. where you do have to throw out a lot of drawings before you get a good one, and then you have to do a whole lot of those to just do one piece of animation. So it took a little while before I got very excited about it, but I got the bug pretty early on, and it stuck. So.
Great. How many of you guys like to draw? You can raise your hand. You can. Oh, whoa! Hey there. I'm seeing hands coming from off screen even. Okay, well that's great. And so as we think about, when to use visuals to express an idea, I guess a question that I have for the two of you is, how do you know when and what type of visual to use when you're expressing an idea?
Well, if you come up with an idea for a cartoon, and we're talking about cartoons now, not presentation, but you have to be happy with it yourself. So you come up with an idea, you visualize what might be happening in that drawing. Like, where are these people? What are they saying to each other? And like what setting is going to work best to get the idea out there? Nothing too complicated. You got to keep it simple to get the idea across. And you have to think about your viewer. You have to please yourself, but you have to think about who's going to be looking at this, and are they going to understand what you're saying? So those are the elements, boiling down to a few sentences.
Yeah. What about you, Jeremiah?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to say exactly, because every new thing is different that we work on, especially animating TED Ed lessons or coming up with how to visualize what they are. It kind of starts when you kind of pick the one you want to illustrate, because maybe it sparks an idea in you, and you kind of start with that and see where that leads, and hopefully it'll lead to more ideas. But it's very much an intuitive process for me.
So one thing I've noticed is you guys have both dealt with complicated content, right? So maybe if you're doing a presentation, let's say on science or something in science, and you don't always understand it, sometimes you have to break it down. And how do you guys go through the process of, if there's a topic you don't understand, what do you do to understand that topic better before you start to visualize it?
I do a lot of research and try to learn as much about it as possible. And I think it probably helps that I don't understand it very well at first, because it's kind of like I go on a journey to understand it, and in making myself understand it, it kind of makes it accessible to trying to make somebody else understand it in a strange way. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, if I want to do a cartoon on specific subjects, it depends on the subject, but I'll try to read as much as I can about that, the political event or current event or trend or something. So I know all the different angles, and then I don't just immediately react to that. I sit with it and think about it and try to distill, like, what's the essence of what's going on here? Who are the players and why are they doing what they're doing? And is this something that I want to draw about? And is it something that will be meaningful to other people to see me draw about? So it's a lot of different factors.
Okay, so I'm going to ask Hope's group some questions, if you don't mind. So you might want to unmute yourself real fast. And I know we have a couple other people who might be on the line, but I can't see them via video. So for Hope's group first, do you want to unmute yourself?
Okay.
Yo. Yeah, can you hear us?
Hi.
Can you?
Yep.
Okay.
Hi. I'd love to hear you guys tell us, what is one topic? So anybody can suggest, but what's one topic that you are right now working on to present, and what is the visual that you are thinking about using in your presentation? So let's go with, and I'm sorry I don't know your name, but the person who is sitting on the floor with the person in the yellow shirt.
Yellow shirt, Jesse.
Hi.
Hi. Jesse, nice to meet you.
My topic is on dragons. And my visuals are these. Don't know if you can really see them that well.
Can you describe them quickly?
Put them up. Well, the first one is a dragon drawing that I did that I really, really like. And the second one is this little globe that I'm going to put little dots on where dragon stories are located. And then I took 2 stories. First one, Smaug from The Hobbit. And then the ancient Egyptian story of Apophis. It was the closest I could find to a dragon.
Giant serpent?
Yeah. We're reading about that. And then and then my 5th visual is some genetically engineered animals and a double helix in the middle of them.
Wow.
You get that?
And the final one is the closest I could find to something dragon related, is a bearded dragon, and new jobs and technologies and cures for diseases.
Pass me the
Great.
Cool.
That picture's cool.
So Jesse, I'm going to say, not right now, but later on, I'm going to ask you what questions you might have for Jeremiah and Liza, okay? So definitely keep that in mind. Let's go to one other person from Hope's group, and then I know Ben Deal's group is trying to join us from Botswana, and so I know that she might have some questions as well. So Ben Deal, if you can hear us, feel free to type questions also. I know Caroline's watching for questions that are typed. So but for now, let's go back to Hope's group, and let's go with person on the in the black sweatshirt who.
What?
Milo.
That's actually like maroon, but okay.
I just have a question, but I wanted to tell you something. It's that me and my sister make comics too. We make lots of comics.
Lots of comics.
Like Catman, superhero comic I invented, and Ellie and Friends, Lucian invented.
I think she wanted to hear about your topic
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
the topic. No.
and your
My
slides.
comics on paradoxes and time travel paradoxes.
Say it again.
Paradoxes?
Well,
Paradoxes? Did you say?
Yes.
Okay.
Tell him
time travel again. Yeah, time travel paradoxes.
Okay. Cool.
So, do you have any questions then for us about how you're thinking about it? Anything we can help with in terms of where you are with the presentation?
No, sorry, I just wanted to tell you that me and my sister make comics.
All right. Well, you keep on thinking then. Anyone else want to tell us what their topic is and also ask a question now?
Anybody have a topic and a question?
Topic and a question. All right.
Who would you like to hear?
Let's go with, I think I saw first of all, love the shrimp t-shirt. That is great. Is it a shrimp or is it a lobster?
Crab.
The crab?
Okay, I like that shirt. Why don't we have you tell us your idea and then your question, and then we're going to move to a different group, okay?
All right, Leona.
My topic is knitting. At first, I didn't think it was gonna. Actually, first I kind of thought it was cool, and then later on, I was like, "Is that really a good thing?" And then, as I started working on it more and more, I thought it's a topic. It's a topic I picked, and I'm gonna go with it because I still have plenty more time in like next year to do it again.
Very neat.
I think it's a great topic. Yeah.
Did you have a question for them?
Thinking about visuals.
She said she didn't have a question after all.
Okay, great. Well, I'm glad we got a chance. We will come back to your group, Hope.
Okay.
Let's make sure to get a few other questions. So, Jeremiah, if you can click that message button on the. Okay. So, any questions? So, Sarah K, I see that you do not have a camera. Can you hear us okay? Sarah, can you hear us?
Sarah K?
Okay. And then Ben Deal, are you on the line? I see Ben Deal.
Oh, Sarah says
Oh,
yes.
Sarah, great. So what are some questions you might have for us? And tell us a little bit about where you are with your group as well. All right, so why don't we do this? If anyone who is on the line who can't hear us, Caroline will try and work with you. But definitely come up with some questions on your end, and we'll go back to Hope's group in the meantime. So for Hope's group, ideas, presentation ideas right now? Who wants to share? All right, let's go with the person sitting on the couch.
Lucia.
Why are we doing the ideas or the actual? My presentation
The
is about.
connection's a little fuzzy, so can you repeat yourself?
Alright. My presentation is about the history of comics, and I can tell you about the visuals. It's the first one is like a picture of Garfield with a Superman costume on, flying. And it says comics, a brief history. And I'm just gonna do a little bit of it because it's a lot. And the next one is a comic book that has that's like a picture and and a plus sign in words, and there's an equal sign in the comic book. So pictures plus words equals comic book, right?
Excellent.
And then the next picture is like a book that's open and it says the history of comics in it. And these may seem really have nothing to do with each other, but there's a picture of a caveman and then a caveman painting on a wall. And I think I'm just going to do that much for now because I've got a lot of visuals. What's your question? And my question, well, I'm just saying that Milo, sometimes when we make comics together, a lot of people can't read it, and I was just thinking about that when you asked the question about how if people can understand it and stuff. Does anyone actually have a real question?
What? That was your question. Did you hear?
Is the problem the printing? You feel like they can't read the printing?
No, it's his writing.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Practice. Just how to.
I agree with it.
Pardon?
Practice. It just takes practice to make the lettering clear. I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, I mean, so now that there are computers and there are fonts and text, use computer fonts, and when do you handwrite something?
Well, with the doing an animation, you have to be. It's kind of almost the opposite of doing a cartoon, where the text is usually a necessary component. Often, it's a necessary component of getting the idea across, especially with a one-panel cartoon like you'd see in the New Yorker, like what Liza does, and provides context that's necessary. With animation, you just really need to be careful that you're not putting too much there to see, since it's in a time format. You don't want to distract from either the action that's happening on screen with something you have to read, or if what you have to read is important, you don't want too much stuff happening on screen. So you just have to kind of decide, and getting actually using text that you either draw or you a computer font to it. It kind of all depends on how the style you would want it to appear. Sometimes when it's handwriting, it has a charm that you wouldn't get
That's what I was
with
gonna
something.
say. Yeah, it has a personal effect. If you like sometimes in a presentation I will use just on the screen just a word, and I've handed the word clear, my style writing, and it's accenting what I'm saying. And I did like what you described, like women plus sign humor equals change. That was in one of my talks. So, and it's just a simple thing that accents what you're saying, and it's a warm thing because it's handwritten.
That's a really good tip, because I think something that we've heard from some of the club members that have worked with us is the question of, with visuals, sometimes you want to use something, and maybe it's better just to use one word or a single word. And that actually gets to a question that we got emailed in about, let's see, is there ever a time that you don't use a visual? Whether it's within your animation, is there any time that you just have a blank frame, or whenever you're presenting in front of people? Is there ever a time when you should use a visual?
I was thinking about that before I got here, and I was thinking that the time to not use a visual is when you're talking to the audience and you want them to focus on you and what you're saying. Like if it's a personal story, although I have used visuals with that, but if you want them to look at your face and hear what you're saying, don't put a visual up there because it distracts them from you.
That's great. I mean, I think that's something, like, as you all are working on getting your presentations ready and practicing in front of people, there's a section, right, that says create your visuals, and then the next session is think about what you should take away or what you should take out. So that's a really good tip, is to just kind of think of it almost as if you were listening to yourself or watching yourself, and see if the visuals add anything. Jeremiah, do you have anything to add maybe to when to not use the visual?
Not specifically, since exactly what we do with animation is very much trying to visualize while words are being spoken. So very much the point of what we're doing is to have something on screen, usually at all times, unless it's a lesson about void or something. But I would say, just in terms of not, you don't want you always want whatever you're using as a visual to communicate what you're trying to communicate. And that's your job when you're presenting an idea, standing up in front of people, or whether you're creating something for people to look at. You always want to be clear and not working against yourself in what you're in trying to convey the information you're trying to convey. So you don't want to, distract. You want to make it fun, but you don't want to take away from the point of what you're doing.
So we got another question, and we're going to go back to Hope's group. So this question is, when you think about, so it's related, but it's the opposite question actually. Is there ever a time when you just use a visual? So obviously, cartoons, when you're presenting or when you're animating even, is there ever a time when you just use the visual and no voice, no narration? And for all of you who are listening and are working on your presentations, maybe think about whether or not you want to use silence and just visuals also.
Yes, I just did a presentation where I was about to make a point. I planned this. I was about to make a point, and I just showed the cartoon. And the cartoon was so powerful in terms of subject matter that I didn't say anything. I just stood there. I showed the cartoon, and I just stood there and let the audience absorb it. And they can read it. Assuming the screen is big enough, they can read what the content is. And I just let them absorb it and then move on to the next point. So I use silence that way.
Yeah, I mean, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and it's a great way of really conveying a lot of information instantly, and people will get it. So it's something to think about.
Great. And let's go back to Hope's group. I know we have a few other questions that are coming in slowly, but let's go back to Hope's group. So we want to hear your name, your idea, and your question. And let's go to I can't quite make what, I think it's the brown shirt, brownish grayish shirt.
Libby.
Yeah. Libby.
Hi, Libby.
So.
My
Name?
idea was my name's Olivia. My idea was cute and deadly things.
Oh.
I wanted to have the question of, in my visual, I want to show us going to the areas because I want it to be an adventure. So I was wondering, should I do a little plane moving to the different states or a little man moving to the different states?
A little man. You could do either. You could show kind of a map, moving with like a line moving on the map, there's many different ways you could show that. You could just maybe just show the state
Or
and
both?
put a dot where you're going. You may want to think about how much you have to say during that part, and if you need to cover a lot of talking, then maybe pick an idea that would take up that amount of time, like actually showing something moving. So think about what you're saying there and what the best thing to look at while you're saying that would be.
Okay, thank you. I found it. Yeah. Or do I use animal?
And who is that joining us right now?
This one?
Angela?
Is that Angela? Hi, Angela. How are you?
Yes, hi. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Can you see my class?
Oh, great.
Just get.
Can't see them. Hello,
Yes,
guys.
Hello.
that's fine.
Nice to see you all. So Angela, we're right now just chatting with Jeremiah and Liza about how they use visuals. And they are the best people to give us tips on how we think about using visuals in our presentations. So I'll give your group, Angela, just another minute, but we're doing questions. And so I'll let you guys think about questions, but would love to have some of your students ask us any questions they might have. We'll do another question for Hope, and then we'll come back to you, Angela, okay?
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Mark.
So I saw a few other hands go up.
Name question. Name idea question.
Blue shirt up front.
Delphi.
My name is Delphi, and my idea is on games.
Games.
Like chess and stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
More like interactive games.
What's your question?
My question is that I can't really. Well, I have my whole thing, but I don't really have that much visuals. But I still have enough. I feel like I have more, but I don't know what else I should put in.
So you're looking for ideas for visuals?
I'm looking for more.
She says she's looking for ideas for visuals for games. She wants to do her talk on interactive games.
Hope, just so you know, it's a little bit fuzzy right now. I think it's just momentary, so.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Oh, you're better now.
There you go.
Start again.
Okay. Delphi's subject was games, specifically interactive games, at chess and things, and she's having trouble finding ideas for visuals. She's kind of got a lot of general, but it doesn't feel specific enough.
Wait, no.
Or
you guys were just talking about chess, and I thought maybe I should put chess in it.
chess would be one, yeah.
I think I'm putting chess in it now.
Okay, she thinks she answered her own question.
Actually, you guys answered my question by talking about chess.
Great.
Glad we could help.
Angela, is your group ready?
Yes, we are ready. Do you have some questions? How do you do your vision?
Probably have to come up for the microphone.
A little bit closer to the screen so that we can hear the question. Thanks so much.
How is going to be for the vision? No. Have to get closer to it. Let's all get closer to it.
Don't worry, we're
Talking right here.
Yeah, we like to see your faces.
So if you could just tell us your name and idea that you're working on, and then the question that you have.
I'm Alex O'Shaughnessy, and my topic is overfishing and like possible ways that we can solve this problem. And I was thinking, as of now, my visuals would be graphs, but like a bar graph or a pie graph that shows like the different ways that our oceans are being exploited. But I'm having trouble. Like, do you know what the rules are exactly on what graphs I can use? Like, I will definitely ask the permission, but can I just recreate the graph, or do I have to use their numbers? Like, do I have to cite them because I use their numbers? Like, if I just recreated a pie graph and changed the colors around, is that sufficient, or would that still be copyrighted, or whatever the word is?
Copyrighting the information so much. I mean, unless it's something. Yeah, I don't think you need to worry about copywriting a pie graph, infographics, things like that. Depending on how like creative it is, I don't know. It's a good question, but.
Well, I have a response, but I also have a question back to all of you. The response is basically you can always reference the source. So if you're pulling that from a textbook, for example, just put a little asterisk at the bottom or even at the end of the presentation that it came from source, and you should be fine. I think it's MLA usually that you use for sourcing, but just to kind of cover your bases. But I wouldn't worry about using it. Usually you don't even have to contact them as long as you just reference them. But the question I have for you, and actually for Jeremiah and Liza also, we have a lot of people, and I've seen this, where a lot of club members are using graphs in their or pie charts or bar charts in their presentation. But I've also seen people try and do it a little bit creatively. So, when we think about presenting and we want to keep our audience engaged and we want to make what we're talking about interesting, what are some ideas for creatively representing numbers? Because numbers aren't always the most exciting thing to use, right? Sometimes they're really great, and I'm sure in your case it is going to be wonderful, but what are some maybe other ways that we can include numbers? And if you want to sit down because you're tired of standing up, no worries. Thank you so much for your question, and let's see if other questions later.
Okay, thank y'all.
Okay. Well, I've done graphs and pie charts with humorous content, and I always, because this is what I do, I put little figures in it. You can put a little fish, a little cartoon drawing of a fish in the corner, or some other way, make it visually fun. That's one way to go about it.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah, I mean,
the content is still there, just you're warming it up. You're making it more user-friendly by.
Yeah, like maybe if you were to show a fish, maybe like half of it, skeleton, or 3/4 of it skeleton, or something to show like how much of the fish population is declined, or something like that. Might be fun. It's good to try and find something that's connected to what you're talking about, as a way of measuring something. If you're talking, about numbers, things like that.
That's great. Angela, any other questions from your group?
I have a few more questions.
Okay. And we have a momentary pause.
Oh, okay. Hi, my name is Mary Wynn Anderson, and I'm doing my project on superstition. And so I wanted to have a map that shows where the different superstitions come from. And I don't know how to integrate maps into my video.
Okay, I hate to do this to you, and I apologize for this. We got it was frozen for just a bit. Can you repeat your question, please? And your name, your ID, and your question.
My name is Mary Wynn Anderson, and I'm doing my project on superstition. And so I wanted to put a map of where the different superstitions originated around the world. And how do you integrate that into your video?
Map?
Yes, maps.
Well, would it be like on the screen, like a still image that you'd have projected while you're talking, or are you actually creating a video? that it would be.
I wanted to have like a moving map, kind of.
Short of using an animation program or something like that to do it in the computer, you could actually physically find a map and maybe use your phone to film it.
I have an idea. You could do that, because I've used my iPhone to videotape myself drawing, so you could actually use your own hand. Have the map, draw, a map of where you're going and film it. Film your hand drawing where you're going or something like that. So that's an idea.
Okay, thank you.
Other ideas, Jeremy? I interrupted you.
Oh no, that's fine. I mean, we use different kinds of software to make our animation here. There's a lot of options out there. And I think we have somewhere, I think, a list of options for people to use.
Yeah, we'll definitely make sure to send that over to your group because I think we do have a list of different ways that you can use maps. And also there's the animation handbook that is one of the resources. Thank you, Justine, for reminding me about that. So we'll make sure that we. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll let you guys on your end come up with some additional questions. Now, we just got one from a group who can't, I think, use the microphone. So the question is, are there any good tools to create images? I'm not a good artist, but I want to create a really specific image about my topic, which is how we can think of ways to reduce our waste to eliminate pollution and trash.
Actually, especially for this topic, doing something like a collage might be fun. Or kind of, you don't actually have to necessarily draw with your own hands, or if you don't feel confident enough doing that. You can cut pictures out of magazines. You can find images online and cut them out and put things together to illustrate your points.
Oh, that's a great idea.
You could even trace some things,
Yeah.
Garbage cans and other things like that. Easy to trace with some light paper that you can see through.
Great. Hope's group, do you guys have any additional questions? Whoa there. Okay, how about let's go with the person who is in the black t-shirt.
Maria.
Maria.
Name, idea, question.
My name is Maria, and
She's going to come closer.
my name is Maria, and my idea is on dinosaur nomenclature, like dinosaurs that have been named correctly and how to fix them. And so my idea or my visuals are pieces of paper that I've drawn on, and it's just the paper with my voice over it. There's no picture, there's no video of me. But earlier you said that sometimes there's moments where you should not have a visual, and I'm wondering how I would do that.
I didn't understand her.
Ask the question again.
So my visuals are pieces of paper, and I've already drawn on them. And it's a picture of that paper. And they have dinosaurs and stuff on them. But earlier you said that sometimes during a talk you shouldn't have a visual, and I'm wondering how I would do that.
Well, I think it just depends on it totally depends on what you're talking about. You don't have to have a moment where you have no visual. It should really be all driven by what your topic is and what you're saying at a given time.
It's not a requirement. I mean, if you feel you want to have visuals with you all the time, that's okay, as long as it doesn't detract from what you're trying to say.
And Maria, one good tip, because I think I've actually heard that question before. One really good tip, and this should be in the handbook, is try to practice with a couple of friends or a family member and use your images, your visuals like you have planned, and see if they find them distracting. So at the end of your presentation, maybe ask them, did everything I say make sense? Did you understand what was what the visuals were? Was there any place where you got distracted by the visuals? And then that'll help you kind of adjust for your own presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Dinosaurs are always fun to look at, so
Yeah.
I never get tired of looking at dinosaurs.
I agree.
But you're probably okay.
Weird ones.
Angela's group, do you have any questions?
Go ahead, Will.
Yes. Hi, I'm Will Russ, and my topic is on the importance of sports in society today. And I found some really great pictures, and I have a lot of them that I want to use. But since our talk isn't very long, I just was kind of confused on really how many I should use, or like how I should split it up so that I don't use too many and run over or something like that.
Sorry, we're frozen again. We're frozen again on our end.
Hold on
Sorry
one
about
second.
that. It seems to happen right as everybody's about to ask their question.
Okay, Will, we're so sorry.
No worries.
Thank you.
So for my project, I found a lot of really good visuals, and I have ones that I know I definitely want to use, but I want to make sure that I don't use too many to like distract from what I'm talking or talking about, or like use too many and then kind of run out of time because I'm like trying to talk about the visuals. So is there something I should do to make sure that I like don't use too many? Should I limit it to a certain amount per like point or something like that?
Great question.
I run into that problem too. It's like I have so many cartoons I want to show, I need to pare it down. Also, you don't necessarily have to talk about the visuals. The visuals can be reinforcing what you're saying, like whatever point you're making. But just like Stephanie said, run through it and see if you're getting bogged down by trying to rush through it. Give it to your friends, run it through with your friends and your family, and it's just it's a trial and error. You just do it over and over and over again until it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I really don't need that extra cartoon. It's like I'm saying the same thing over and over again. So it's a trial and error. That's all I can say. Kurt?
Yeah, I would definitely say you can start with maybe. You could kind of go either two ways. You can start with just throwing everything in there and then seeing like how crazy it is, or you can start with maybe just using one thing for each section and then maybe add a little bit to that, add a little bit more to that. You might find that while you're working through it, another image may work better than the one you thought would be great. It's really like a process of practicing it and seeing
Yeah,
what you
like
think.
I did a talk last week I realized as I was doing the talk that I had too much space without a visual, and I could feel the audience getting kind of antsy. So now I'll do it differently next time. I won't leave that much time where there's nothing to look at. But people expect visuals from me. So I don't know. It's really, you got to just run through it.
That's a great question, Will. Thanks so much. Do you have
Thank
any
you.
other questions?
Thank you.
Isabel?
All right, so we'll take two more questions. And so from Angela's group, try to say your name, your idea, and then also the question, and we will cross our fingers that it doesn't freeze.
Okay, so my name's Isabel Leonidas, and I want to do my project on experiential education and kind of my experience with it and what I would like to see changed in schools. And so I'm kind of framing it from kind of a metaphor of drawing inside the lines and then growing to drawing outside the lines and making your own drawings. So I was going to maybe write on paper to kind of demonstrate something. So what do you think the best way to incorporate that would be?
You mean you wanted to film yourself writing? Is that what I
Or
understood?
maybe film myself or do it on stage if I could. Just what do y'all think?
Yeah, I've done that on stage. You have a Wacom tablet or some sort of drawing tablet,
Mhm.
and it can be hooked up to the screen, and you can just draw right in front of the audience. That's one way.
Okay.
film yourself drawing. I have a system where I have a tripod and a Gorilla attachment that holds my iPhone over my hand, so I can film myself drawing. That's another way. Or film yourself, your whole body drawing. That's another way. But then you wouldn't be able to see it.
Right. But there's also there are I've seen some kind of cool little small cameras you can buy that are not very expensive that you can hook up to a projector or a computer like that, and you can record yourself and play it later, or you can actually show what you're doing right in the moment as well. So that there are some options out there.
Yeah, there's lots of new options out
Okay, thank you.
Thank
I
you.
don't remember the name.
Uh-huh.
I should just mention, we work with a lot of different clubs, and people have just different resources on what's available. So the idea of just drawing something by hand and trying to use whatever kind of video capture, it could be a digital camera, it could be a video camera, it can be a phone, it can be an iPad or tablet, whatever you have, that has worked really well, and it's something that regardless of the different technologies you have available, maybe it's something that is more doable.
And it doesn't have to be like high tech perfect, Sometimes the crudeness of it is nice.
Yeah.
Charm, what we call in the business. Charm.
All right. Any last questions from Angela's group, from Hope's group, from any of the online groups that have been lovingly emailing us and chatting us?
You're all frozen.
We're all frozen. We'll give it a
question.
We have a question over here. I don't know if you can see me. I'm Hope. I'm the facilitator.
I hope.
And a question was just handed to me.
We can hear you, Hope. Yeah.
Okay. The question is it better to stick with one type of visual, or can you mix examples and cartoons and stock photos together?
Good question. I think you could.
Yeah, sure. I think it just depends on what you're talking about, really. I would say the only general rule is that whatever your visuals are, they just have to work with what you're saying, and that's it. So if it doesn't work for some other reason, and that you won't really know that until you try it sometimes. So I would say as a general rule, there's nothing stopping you from doing that.
So try it, test it. If you get bad feedback, change it.
Yeah.
But yeah, mixing things up is lots of fun, and you arrive places you didn't think, you never thought you would by doing that. So I'm all for it.
Okay, thank you.
So now I have a general question actually for all of you who are joining. So for Angela's group, for Hope's group, for Bandil's group, and a few other of the groups that are online. This is more of a general question. So with TED Clubs, we obviously, as you know, this is our first kind of official semester. Starting in January, we launched the program, and this year, starting in September, we started to do workshops. I am curious to hear from you all, and specifically the club members or the students, if you guys can give us some feedback, what topic areas would be most exciting and interesting for you all to hear during the next workshop that we do?
It broke up a lot. I'm not sure we heard the question well.
Okay, I'll ask the question again. So with TED Clubs, as you all know, this is the kind of first year that we're doing it. And we would love to be able to do workshops that you all want. So I am curious to hear from you all what kind of workshops would be most useful and what would you be most excited about? You can discuss amongst yourselves first if you want to get back to me on that.
Yes.
Any ideas?
Planning yourself.
Brainstorming ideas.
All right, so Hope's group, do you want to tell us any ideas that came up?
Okay. Ooh, I'm gonna be really close. Just saying. I wanted to ask if you guys had the best idea of general, what type of things? Kind of not.
So you're looking for a workshop on how to generate ideas?
Yes.
Okay,
Like
great.
how to almost break them down and put them back together.
Topic funneling.
Yeah.
Like we're writing that down. That's a great question,
Yeah,
and maybe that's a workshop that we'll do in the future. Wonderful. Angela's group, any other questions or any other ideas for workshops that you all would want to see?
Hi. Well, I had a really hard time deciding what I was gonna do. So maybe a workshop about coming up with a good idea, like right when we started the club, like right when we joined the club, that would have been really helpful to have a solid foundation of brainstorming at the very beginning.
Okay, so maybe it might be, I wonder if it's something where we could actually even have brainstorm sessions with different groups around the world also. And then also give feedback on sessions. Okay. Well, keep this question in mind because we would love to hear from you and we would love any ideas that you all have. We're so glad that you guys joined us, and we are so thankful for Jeremiah and Liza for joining us as well. After this session is done, what we'll do is there will actually be a blog write-up about it, and we'll post this video and also some additional information online, so you can always go back to it and refer to it. And then also some ideas for Angela's group, some of the questions that came up, we'll follow up with you because there are some resources that we can for some of the questions that you asked. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank you.